Police in Oakland, California have been trying hard to scare off Occupy Wall Street protesters that kept coming back to the city hall. The activists wanted to reestablish a tent camp torn down earlier. 97 people have been arrested. Well, RT's Marina Portnaya is following developments for us. Marina, again, the police getting heavy against the anti-greed protesters across the U.S. It seems authorities keep resorting to the same tactics. The latest footage we saw came from Oakland. What has been happening there?
Well, the latest video that we have seen from Oakland is arguably the most violent we've seen police against the Occupy Wall Street protesters. Downtown Oakland, California resembled something of a war zone Tuesday morning when the police attacked the Occupy Wall Street protesters with tear gas, flash grenades, and rubber bullets, shooting one man even in the face with a rubber bullet. Now, as mentioned, these police officers were attempting to evict the activists from their protest campground that they set up a few weeks ago outside City Hall in Oakland. Approximately 500 riot police were trying to take part in evicting the activists from the campground, and each time the activists came back, the clashes between police and activists became even more violent. It's being reported that police used tear gas and flash grenades about 4 different times against a group of approximately 350 people. From what's being reported, at least 97 protesters were arrested in all. Of course, this coming after clouds of tear gas and the noise of flash grenades overwhelmed the area in Oakland. And there were very kind of disturbing images caught on tape. One being police can be seen throwing a flash grenade right onto people trying to help an injured woman. Another caught in the middle, another person was caught in the middle of a class of tear gas was a person that was in a wheelchair. And video shows police officers still lobbying canisters at this person. Now, the spark for the conflict, of course, was the fact that this Occupy Wall Street movement has been growing louder, has been growing larger, has been blazing across the United States after launching here in New York City nearly 6 weeks ago. Now, as far as what the police in Oakland, California say, they say the camp that protesters set up was illegal, and they had repeatedly told the activists that they had to leave that campground. Officials also say that police had no other choice to use the tactics they did because some of the protesters were throwing rocks and bottles at the officers. City police in Oakland say that at least 2 officers were injured. So far, no video has surfaced showing any activists physically attacking any police officer, and that has been pretty much the case and each time there's been a report, there's been a video showing police getting quite arguably, some would say, brutal with these Occupy activists. And what critics say is that they're using very harsh force against Americans that are trying to use their freedom of speech, that are protesting U.S. corporate influence on politics, are protesting corporate greed. And as we see this movement gaining momentum, we certainly are seeing the clashes between authority and activists growing more violent and growing larger. So this, of course, from what I've seen, from what I've been reporting and covering, this has been the most, I guess, aggressive tactic, because Oakland, California looks something like a war zone, an urban war zone on Tuesday morning.
All right. Well, thanks very much for that update. RT's Marina Portnaya, keeping an eye on developments in the U.S. Thank you. Well, we also spoke to independent journalist Josh Wolf, who witnessed the police crackdown on protesters in Oakland. He puts much of the violence down to law enforcers having no sense of community with those who are demanding change.
I think that any time the people demonstrate that they have power, the authorities, the city government is fearful of that. I mean, we live in a democracy, supposedly, but when the people come together in rallies and demonstrations, we always or frequently see that met with a very strong arm of the law, and this is no exception. This was a case where people had held this ground 2 weeks, spreading all across the country, and suddenly government is seeing it as a threat and government is stepping in to shut it down. Most of the officers in Oakland don't live anywhere near the city. They don't relate to the people as if they're their neighbors. They relate to them as if this is some outside city that they're trying to keep the people from overtaking the city, is oftentimes the perspective that I hear when talking to police. And so there really isn't a feeling of community between the police and the residents. It really does feel like a different kind of occupation of the police occupying the city. And we're seeing this in many cities around the Bay Area and in the country.